Damien, I guess we should start with you. What's going on with this Bama team, and what's your level of concern from like 1 to 10 at this point?
I would say there's a lot going on. My level of concern, I'm gonna keep it mild. I'll say it a 5, just because at the end of the day, they did win yesterday, and you know, as we've learned, anybody can win on any given Sunday. You're playing an SEC opponent. I mean, the fact that they won, they found a way to win. Sometimes you just got to do that.
Yeah.
But offensively, outside of Jalen Milroe and this Ryan Williams connection, where's the offense?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about Jam Miller averaging somewhere 7, 8, 9 yards a carry, and it's just like they're just not running the ball. They're not getting their other receivers involved. And it's literally Jalen Milroe run or Jalen Milroe drop back and look for Ryan Williams. And there's just no evolution to this offense outside of that. And then I turn to the defense, which is unequivocally the bigger problem here. And, you know, from a non-technical standpoint and, you know, not the, you know, X's and O's, there's just not that sense of joyless. Well, I can't say this word on a podcast. There's not just that sense of just joyless hunting that guys go on, where guys were just like those rabid wild dogs, and it was just like you know, all game long pregame, you're trying to hold them back and just wait until they get on the field and then just let them unleash it.
Yeah, ball carriers are scared.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, guys used to hate getting the ball against Alabama defenses, and now it's like, okay, well, if I get hit in a pile, I can get pushed for 2 or 3 extra yards, right? So that's like big picture, not necessarily X's and O's. But then Ubben, you and I, well, Chris included, we had a conversation where, you know, we're talking about, we feel like Alabama's defense now is always looking to get in the perfect position. They're always looking to call the perfect blitz at the right time. They're always trying to hit the right stunts at the perfect time to really stunt the offense and stun them in that play. Well, back in the day, Coach Saban and, you know, the great defensive staffs that he had, he basically put a box around the defense. And he was like, if you guys play in this box, you guys have creative ability to go out there and hunt like dogs. So the Minkah Fitzpatricks, the Landon Collins, you know, guys like that could just roam around and just literally seek the ball or seek the receiver trying to separate them from the ball. Or even the defensive linemen, the linebackers. You know, sometimes if Ruben just got an itch and he knew he could just trigger and fire and go make a play on the quarterback, well, he had the parameters to do that, because it's as long as you played inside of the scheme, he knew that he had the guys that had the intellect, the understanding of the game matched with the talent to go out there and just be able to play free and make plays. So that's where I see the biggest difference is, you know, not just that killer instinct, those guys that are out there hunting like wild savages. And it seems like from a defensive coaching standpoint, they're just always looking to be in the perfect position for that play, as opposed to letting these studs just go out there and just make plays and create on their own.
Yeah, I think when you look at this team, the thing that concerns me is pretty simple. You look at the line of scrimmage, and they're not bullying people on either side. You know, they're getting, when teams are going to run and everybody knows that they're going to run, they're still getting blown off the ball. They're still giving up yards. That was a bigger problem against Vandy, but it still showed up in times against South Carolina. And then offensively, they're not moving people as well. I mean, they're protecting okay, but they don't really have like the big time offensive linemen. They don't have, you know, the big time game wrecker, the Will Anderson, who's roaming around just like destroying defenses. They're destroying offenses. And those are things that, you know, obviously the talent level is still pretty high, but there's not those guys on either side of the ball on the line of scrimmage that are just like, wow, guys. And I think that catches up to you. The longest run for an Alabama running back was 8 yards.
And if you watch the game, it's like they don't try to run because
18. But to that point, 18 carries for Jalen Milroe is not what you want.
No, it's not. And if you guys notice, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but he looked gassed at the end of that game. He looked tired. He looked beat up. He looked sore. And running him 18 times, that's not necessarily the formula in my mind. This is my opinion.
You're asking him to be Superman, and maybe he can be for a while.
And you have guys like Jam Miller, Justice Hayes in the backfield, to where if you hand them the ball 18 times, okay, it'll be 1 yard here, 2 yards here, maybe 3 yards here. But then once you get to the second half, then those 2 and 3 yard runs become 6, 8, 10 yard runs. You know, that's kind of the philosophy. So, you know, they gotta, they just got to figure it out. Like, because they have, even though they, like you said, up to your point, they don't have those dudes, those game wreckers on, the line of scrimmage on either side. They've still got dudes on this field. They've still got some of the best talent in the country.
Yeah.
They're just not getting it. And, I would ask you guys, because I'm confident in saying this, nobody is afraid of Alabama anymore, especially going into Bryant-Denny Stadium. Like, you guys,
it seemed like
wrong,
I was watching that game. It seemed like early on, they jump out to a 14-0 lead. South Carolina's a good team, and I'm like, okay, are we gonna get a Bama flex today? Maybe they're a 21-point favorite in that game, and then all of a sudden, they're fighting for their life for the whole second half. Chris, what does this mean from the Athletic 134? What did you do with Bama, and what does that kind of mean for them moving forward?
I took a lot of heat last week because I had only moved Alabama down to number 3 when they lost to Vanderbilt. And my reason was because they're on the same level of Georgia and they beat Georgia. So they have to be ahead of Georgia. That's not the case anymore. They are now a tier below Georgia. I have Alabama dropping from 3 to 7. It honestly could have gone even further. I was like really that close to it. This team has given up more than 90 points in its last 2.5 games. It is very much going in the wrong direction. And when you look at the schedule coming up, Tennessee on the road, Missouri at home, at LSU, you're suddenly in like, hey, like there could be a couple of losses here, and then the playoff conversation needs to happen. So it is very much going in a bad direction for Bama right now.
Yeah, I think, Chris, you tweeted out they've been outscored 92-73 in their last 2.5 games. That first half against Georgia, I'm really curious when we get to December how we view that. Is that just schematically they had Georgia scrambled? Is that a glimpse of what Alabama can be? I don't know. I think we're going to see, but I think we've seen a lot more question marks and bad football from Alabama and play that we're not used to seeing from the guys wearing the numbers on their helmets than we saw in the first half of Georgia. That's the only time really all season. Maybe, quite frankly, just because I think Western Kentucky's good. I said this in week 1 and they've sort of borne that out since then. That's the only other time that we've seen the Alabama kind of wow you the whole season. Yep. And that's not good when we're halfway through the season and your most impressive things are a half against Georgia where you almost lost and maybe should have lost. And Western Kentucky is your other most impressive performance. That's not a great sign.